But I have just sort of accepted that that's just the way it is. Let's move on. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Just Another Struggling Writer, the beleaguered author's one-stop shop for commiseration and hopefully inspiration. My name is Carrie Scher, and I am just another struggling writer. Well, today is the start of another reading vlog. My last couple of reading vlogs have been successful in terms of finishing books, but not successful in terms of liking books. I'm hoping to change that this week. Another change I am making this week is my focus. The last couple of weeks, I've tried to do a physical read, an ebook read, and an audio read, and that hasn't been working. I've really just been reading my ebooks. For whatever reason, I am not feeling my physical reading right now. I am still going to be plugging away at Assassin's Apprentice, which is what I have been reading for like the last 3 weeks. I'm still going to be picking it up and reading it as I go, but it is not going to be my focus this week. I am trying to catch back up on my reading goal pace. I am now 7 books behind, so I've got some wood to chop. And in the interest of doing that, I'm going to focus on ebooks this week. The first ebook I have chosen is The Bone Witch by Readjusting. This is about a young girl whose whole life is turned upside down when she accidentally raises her brother from the dead. This marks her as what is known as a bone witch, a necromancer, more or less. I've actually read the first 4 or 5 chapters of this book, the first like 15%, and so far I don't really have a lot of strong opinions on it. It's just fine. It is a YA, and I should know better by now than to pick up a YA when I've been struggling to enjoy books as I have been lately. But something about this premise just caught me. I'm hoping to get this finished early this week, and if I do, the second book I'm going to pick up is The Dragon Rider by Taran Matharu. What I do know is this is about a man who lives as a political hostage and his attempt to kind of break free of his situation, and there are dragons. That's really all I know about it. So those are the 2 books I'm going to be trying to get read this week. Of course, I'm going to be continuing on in my adventure with Assassin's Apprentice, and I might even try and find time to listen to my audiobook of now going on 3 months, The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. It really isn't a knock on that book that I haven't been listening to it. I'm just not a very good audio listener, and without a commute to compel me to listen, it just hasn't been top of focus. So I'm going to read a little bit more tonight, and then I will check in with you tomorrow and let you know where I'm at. Hello everyone, checking in with a quick reading update. It is now Thursday evening, and I have sort of adjusted my plans for reading once again for the week. I have been toiling away at The Bone Witch by Readjusting, but I decided to put it on pause because I just don't feel very strongly about it. I'm 85 pages in, about 15%, and I just don't care about any of it yet. And it's possible that I will if I keep reading, but it was kind of giving me a slumpy feeling, and so I decided to go ahead and put it on pause and read a different book. So I picked up A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher, which is a horror book about a woman who unexpectedly has to move back in with her mother, and things are quite a bit different from the last time that she saw her mother and this old house, and things unravel from there. I have already finished it. It was quite short, only about 250 pages, and as I have mentioned before, horror is not a genre that I particularly gravitate to just because I don't feel scared by them, so the draw isn't there as much for me. However, I do love T. Kingfisher. I will read anything that she puts out, and I knew that reading one of her books would kind of snap me out of that kind of proto-slumpy feeling I was feeling. So that's what I did. I read it in 2 days, and it was fine. I'll give it 3 stars. Like I said, I don't know that T. Kingfisher can write anything that I will rate less than a 3-star. And again, it's nothing wrong with the book in particular. I'm just not someone who I think can appreciate horror, because I just have a hard time like sinking into the story so deeply that I'm actually scared by any of the developments. Again, not bad, 3 stars. If you like T. Kingfisher, definitely check it out. I don't know if it's a good horror rec because, again, I don't know anything about horror. So that is that. I finished a book. I'm going to tally it towards July, even though today is the 1st, because I read most of it yesterday. Now that August has officially started, I am going to pick up my first TBR read of the month, which is A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. I'm trying something new with my TBR this month where I only have one book on it at a time. And then when I finish it, I will take another random draw out of my TBR Mimic. And this is, I feel like, a really great one to start with because it's also really short. And I think I can get through this one hopefully before the end of the weekend. We'll just have to see. I am babysitting my nephew overnight tomorrow, so I don't know if tomorrow and part of Saturday are going to be strong reading days for me, but it's a possibility. Again, it's only about 300 pages, so I don't know if I'm going to go back to The Bone Witch just yet. After I finished A House with Good Bones, I kind of laid there for a while and trying to decide. I've got some other library books out. I don't feel super strongly about any of them, though. I'm going to sleep on it and decide if I want to just keep carving away at The Bone Witch or if I want to try something new. The next up on my list is The Dragon Rider by Taran Matharu, but again, I don't feel drawn to any of the books in my library list right now. We shall see. So that's my reading update. I finished a book. Yay! And I'm hopeful that I can finish another one before the end of the week, which would mean I would complete my 2-book-a-week goal. And even though A House with Good Bones and A Deadly Education are both very short, they still count as 2 separate books read, okay? It's hard to read 2 books a week when the fantasy books that you like are over 500 pages each. That is a burden of my own making. I'll leave you with that for now, and I will check in, maybe not tomorrow. Again, like I said, I'll have my nephew, but definitely Saturday. Hey everyone, time for a quick reading update. It is now Saturday afternoon. I think when I last spoke with you, I had finished a book and was trying to pick out my next one. In between now and then, I have decided to go ahead and start A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. If you watched my Cozy Reset video, you'll know that for my TBR this month, I'm just choosing one random book at a time out of my TBR Mimic. And this was the random draw that I chose to start this month off. And since we were rolling into the weekend and it's a physical read, I figured now is the perfect time to get it done. It's also really, really short, so I think I can probably finish it before tomorrow, which is my goal. And also, if you couldn't tell by these guys, I'm kind of enjoying myself. I actually knew pretty much as soon as I read the first page of this book that I wanted to annotate it. This is, if you can believe it, my first Naomi Novik book, and I think I'm enjoying her style. I like the main character's voice in this particular. I'm almost there. I'm like 75% of the way sold on the main character's voice here. I think it is a little bit undefined. A little bit. I've got a sense of her, but it does feel a little bit like there's still a little bit more shaping that we could give it. That's nitpicking. In this book, we follow a young woman named Elle, who is a student at a magical school called the Sholomance. And this is a school for students who have an affinity for magic, but it's also a very dangerous place to be because in this world, magical creatures feed on magic, and so they tend to hunt down anyone with magic. And so the school is a way to educate these children who have magic so that they can survive in the real world. And while yes, it is dangerous inside the school, it is much more dangerous for a person with magic who hasn't been educated outside the school. So unfortunately for Elle, her particular affinity for magic leans towards the apocalyptic, very, very destructive. And the way that she draws on her magical ability is also viewed by many to be evil. And so she has to be very, very careful in how she practices her magic and how she learns spells that are not destructive in nature so that she can survive in the real world. So her goal is to not just graduate from this school, but also make alliances with other magical students and make connections so that when she graduates, she has a network of people who can help protect her. Because again, the magical creatures who feed on magic exist outside of the school, and there's not all the protections that the school offers in place. So as a substitute, you need basically a network, a connection, an enclave. And so that is her goal. Unfortunately, because of her dark magic, she doesn't make a lot of friends. She just kind of gives off this creepy vibe that most people choose to avoid. And that suits her just fine. She'd much rather not anyone get close to her. And that has caused a lot of friction with a certain student at the school who kind of views himself as a hero, who wants to protect everyone and help everyone. And right at the beginning of this, they are butting heads. I particularly love the first line, which is one of the main reasons why I wanted to start annotating. But it says, "I decided that Orion needed to die after the second time he saved my life." So that should give you an indication of what kind of story this is and what kind of main character Elle is and all of that. And while this is technically a YA, I think she's 17. I don't think it's kind of nebulous. And she's like a junior in this magical school. I don't feel tremendously overwhelmed by the teenageriness. Maybe because of the subject matter. I don't know. It's not bothering me in the way other YA books have. My only complaint, I think so far, is that Naomi Novik does not take very much effort to explain the magic very well. But at the same time, there is a lot of info dumping. So she is trying to explain it. I just don't think that it was very elegantly done or easily explained. Or well explained to, like, so that it makes sense to me. Like, I'm finding that I'm rereading those info dumping paragraphs multiple times, and I eventually just gave up. And I like, for example, the way Elle draws magic, bad way that she's trying to avoid using, I really don't understand how it works. I know it like taps into like the human body and like you drain people, so it's bad, evil, don't do it. I kind of get that, but I don't really understand side of things. I don't really understand why the magical creature, like why there are so many different kinds and why they're why they're trying to eat all the students. I don't get that either. But I have just sort of accepted that that's just the way it is. Let's move on. It's because if I dwell on it too long, then I'm going to be bothered by it. And I don't want to be bothered by it. And there's really just not enough time to be bothered by it either because, it's very short. It's only 300 pages. So in a way, that's a good thing. But I also find myself wishing that there was like 100 more pages in this book already, even though I'm only 20% in. I just to give herself a little bit more room to breathe and not feel like she has to fly through the plot so fast. But again, I'm only 20% in, so I don't know if it will hold up. So that's pretty much where I'm at and what my thoughts are. Again, my goal is to try and have this finished by tomorrow. And then, guess what? I'll be right on track for my 2 books a week. It only took 2 very short books to do it. But I do have some work to do. So I'm going to set this aside for right now, get some work done, read a bunch more tonight. I'm hoping to maybe get to like the 60% mark tonight. I just don't know. But for now, I'm going to go get some work done, and I will check in with you once I've done some more reading. Hey everyone, time for a quick reading update. It is now Sunday afternoon, and I just hit the 50% mark of A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik, and I think I'm really liking it. Most of my complaints are fairly minor. Things like Naomi Novik's writing style, it's not completely my favorite, but I realize that is a totally subjective thing, and while her style doesn't totally appeal to me, it's still good. Like, I still recognize that it's good, and I am still enjoying the story. The other thing I have noticed about this is that, like, this to me seems like a book that you can't really think too hard about, or it'll all fall apart at the seams. Some of the explanations for the magic system and the world and like the reason that there are creatures, I don't think they would hold up to serious scrutiny, so I'm trying not to scrutinize too hard. It's just one of those where you have to just sort of suspend any questions you might have and just accept the hand wave that this is just the way it is. And so that's what I've done. I just accept that this world is the way it is, and it's always been that way, and it may never change, and this is just one girl's journey through the system and the life that she has been given. And so I'm trying to enjoy it in that regard, and so far I am. That's kind of where I'm at. Not really much different from my first update. Like I said, I just have mostly minor complaints, mostly to do with how a lot of the world building is hand-waved, and how Naomi Novik spends pages and pages and pages on lore dropping, and how the main character is internally moving through this world. It's all more about what's going on with Elle inside, and then like having lore explained to us through Elle's point of view. It'll go pages and pages and pages without any dialogue whatsoever or interactions with other characters. That's just not my particular favorite style of writing, as I mentioned before, but I'm moving through it. I don't know that I'm going to finish today. I'm going to try really hard. This is a very short book, only 150 pages left. I can usually get through that in about 2.5, 3 hours. The problem is it's Sunday and I've got a bunch of stuff going on. I didn't quite finish my homework yesterday. That ended up taking way longer than I anticipated. I've got a little bit more to do today. I've also got to go to the store and get my kids' school supplies because they start in less than 2 weeks. So I've got to get that done, and it's just like Sunday, so it's all the other usual like chores getting ready for the new week. But I'm really going to try hard to finish this. Like I said, it's really not that long. But it is dense. So I'm going to do my best. I hope to have this finished before the end of the evening, and I will check in with you when that happens. Hey y'all, it is now Sunday night, and man, my day did not go at all like I planned when I last spoke to you. The short version is I took my kids to go get their school supplies for the new school year and managed to lock myself out of my car, and then discovered shortly thereafter that the spare key was never recovered after the fire and subsequent move. So I had to call a locksmith, and it ended up being like a 2.5 hour like ordeal. So totally threw a wrench in my plans for the day. So the end result is that I didn't finish A Deadly Education today, but I did get to about 60%. I'm just over the 200 page mark, and I do have some more thoughts, so I'll just share them with you quickly. I think I've identified like my main issue with the writing style, and that is it is so internal and so explainy about like the magic and the lore. It was really indicative when at one point one character comes into our main character Elle's room and no words are exchanged between them for like a page and a half. It takes that long to arrive to the conversation because there's just so much internally going on, and it's all just being explained to us. And it's getting a little bit tedious 200 pages in. So I think what would make me enjoy this book more if it was just like 75 pages longer and it just gave some of these moments time to breathe and just injected a little bit more action into the story rather than just relying so much on Elle's internal monologue and like the way that she's explaining the world to us as the reader. That being said, I'm not mad at it. Totally. Not really. I am enjoying it. It's currently sitting between a 3.5 and a 4 right now, which is so not what I expected. I expected this to be a 3 at best, but I'm really enjoying it. There are lots of really great moments, lots of great character moments especially, and I am actually kind of enjoying Elle. I have found lately that especially mean, rude, bitchy main characters haven't really appealed to me. But at least with Elle, I can kind of understand where she's coming from, even if it is at this point like it's just a little bit too on the nose. And I think that is the real crux of my only complaint about this book is that it's just like I get it at this point. I get it, which is so funny because now I'm saying add 75 pages, but I feel like if those 75 pages were just filled with things that weren't this, it would give all of these moments and all of these internal feelings space to breathe, so it wouldn't feel like constantly inundated with what's going on. I'm very tired, so my critiques aren't really very well formulated, but basically I'm just trying to say I am liking it. I don't completely love the writing style, but I am liking it pretty well. I am notoriously nitpicky about my 5s, as you know. I feel like a 3.5, 3.75, kind of where it's sitting right now, is a lot better than I was anticipating. I'm going to leave this vlog there and pick up A Deadly Education in next week's vlog. Like I said, I only have like 100 pages left. Mondays are notoriously busy for me. I've got extracurriculars and filming and, extra things that I'm doing usually on Monday. So I don't know that I'll finish tomorrow, but I'm certainly going to try and at least get another 50 pages read so that I can finish at least on Tuesday. I know I always say something like that, but that's my goal. What can I say? So thank you so much for watching. In my next video, I'm going to be doing 5, 3, and 1-star predictions of my physical library. I hope you look forward to it, and I will see you then. Bye.